Today's June the 2nd, and we still have over half of our corn to plant. Just keep getting rain, which is awesome. Soybeans are on their way up. It's just been cool and rainy. I planted the soybeans about 2 weeks ago, and yeah, they're just some of them are up. We had planted about 1 silo's worth of corn early in May. Worked out really well, so that's this stuff here. Definitely takes the pressure off. Getting the rest of the corn done, we don't feel super rushed. But yeah, this corn's looking really nice. It's gonna start really taking off here. Hasn't been growing that much lately because of how cloudy and cool it's been. So here's the field that we need to plant corn in. Got manure on it, so we just need to let it get dry enough to plant. Just ball up some dirt. You can make a ball with it. It's usually too wet, especially if you push on it and it kind of is like a putty. Now this is getting somewhere already. It's the 3rd sunny day we've had now. It was nice and breezy yesterday. We've had 3.5 inches just in the last week. And we had rain before that, so it's definitely been well saturated. Put a thick coat of manure on this, so that doesn't help with drying out. It just kind of seals the surface. And one thing we've considered is taking a vertical tillage tool over this just to loosen it up a little bit and hopefully help it dry out a little more. Not sure if that's a good idea or not. I wanted to show you all the fans running. Last week we got a bunch of fans put up and wired in. Massively upgraded our dry cow barn cooling. There's 4 new fans in the back. Should make a huge difference for the comfort for these dry cows. They're chilling in there. So in here, our special needs pen, we moved that fan right there. That's shooting down onto the pre-fresh cows. And then we got 1 new fan right there at the end of the special needs. Throws a lot of air down through the feed alley there. So we had the ceiling fans in here, which are pretty nice on the bed pack, but they wouldn't move that much air up where they're eating. And then we got those 2 fans at the end of the milking parlor there, shooting down into the holding area. Stuck a thermostat and a timer over there on the wall, so they just turn on during the milking if it's above 65 degrees. They're crowded in the holding area waiting to be milked, and they get overheated. Standing so close to each other, there's nowhere for the heat to go. Pulling air through the front of the parlor helps move air through the whole building. One thing with the robot feeding in our barn, it's automatically refeeding the cows once they eat their feed down to a certain level. We don't want to set it so that they completely clean it up every time, because you're going to be hurting intakes if they're waiting on feed. I put a pause on this group this morning, so they've cleaned it up more than they normally do. The issue we run into is right along this curb. They don't really lick this feed out of here. They would eventually eat it, but if there's new feed being fed to them, then they prefer to just eat the easiest access feed. This group really isn't too bad. Group 2 is actually the worst. We have a lot of trouble. Seems like there's a couple cows in here that like to drop manure right on the headlocks. Like, it's a constant battle. We're cleaning this up, every day, every morning for sure, sometimes twice a day, having a shovel throw feed away. Dad thinks that having a cow brush in there would help them. We don't have any brush in this group currently, so we're in the process of getting another brush. Anyway, I'm gonna go through this group and just shovel out this feed against the curbs, throw it in on the slats. I just went through all 4 groups with a shovel. I need to be doing that at least once a week, I would say. The cows have been eating a lot lately. Intakes have been strong and milk production's been really good. It's just so consistent. The feeding system does its thing. We don't really worry about the feeding. Keeps feed in front of the cows. Hey guys, it is June the 4th. And it's time to finish this corn planting up. Been waiting around long enough. It's been a few years since we planted corn in June. It's not the first time. Last year we finished up by the 4th of May with planting, so we're a full month later. We're very thankful for all the rain we had, but it's definitely time to get the rest of this planting done. Made it over to the field. I started planting this field last Tuesday, 8 days ago. Thought maybe we'd be able to plant this, but it was a little too wet, so we just gave up. Gonna start right where I left off. I only planted from the end to here is about 100 yards. Since then we got 3.5 inches of rain, but we also had a lot of nice sunny days since then. So yeah, we got all the fertilizer loaded up. Just gotta open everything. Saw these were starting to crack. We made repairs on these last year. There were some cracks developing, so we just welded those real quick before I came over here. These marker arms take a beating. They're always bouncing around. It's a little bit of a weak point there. This here is what we were planting a week ago. You can see there's a crease there. Wasn't closing up very well. It should do better than it did last week, and either way, it's time to plant. So I think as long as it's slightly better, I'll be happy. I tried planting in about 3 different fields a week ago. Well, 4 different fields. One of them was fit to plant, the rest weren't. So I just got a little start, but didn't get very far. From the cab, it looked a bit better. Let's see what it looks like up close though. So we have our fertilizer band that's about 3 inches off the corn row. But you can see it's closing up nicely there. I'm pleased with what that looks like. It's definitely better than a week ago. We're in the low area of the field, the bottom of it, so pretty much everything up from here is going to be a little bit drier, at least, than this is. I'm finding them about 2.25 inches deep. You can plant a little bit deeper than that, especially if you need to find moisture, but there's plenty of moisture here. The other thing I do is I'll just check and make sure all the gauge wheels are down against the dirt. Right now I'm full of fertilizer, so there's a lot of weight on the planter. It helps it work a little bit better as far as pushing down into the soil. What we can do is refill our fertilizer. When it gets down to half, fill it up, add all that weight back on. That's what we did last year. That helped a lot. We plant with a 6-row Kinsey 2000 planter, 30-inch rows. We've learned how to take care of it a bit better over the last few years, which I think has helped it be a little more reliable. I've been running for quite a while. Have a good bit of regrowth in some of these fields. It's interesting how much better these fields dried up that had this green regrowth in it, pulling the moisture out of it. They were definitely fit to plant a couple days sooner. This farm had some fields where the triticale was planted after soybeans last fall and it didn't grow very well, and it just didn't get very mature this spring till we mowed it. It ended up regrowing quite a bit more than the rest. This field here I actually seeded with oats then this spring because of how thin it was. Just this section right here, so you can see those oats regrowing. So in the fields that were taller, more mature triticale, it's not really regrowing very much. So it's the next day. Down to our last 25 acres to plant. I'm at the farm right across from the home place. the last time loading fertilizer. Worked out about perfect. Might be a few acres short. If you remember when we were harvesting our triticale, we had some that was mixed with annual ryegrass. A couple of those fields were planted early and I got them sprayed early. But now this field here, this is annual ryegrass that regrew a bunch. I may have trouble killing this stuff off. I don't know how it's gonna act. There it was. Last pass of the year. This last field I planted is actually corn we're growing for the neighbor's beef cattle. Definitely enjoyed planting more this spring because of how spread out it was last year. It all happened within a week because we had good conditions the end of April and early May. So I'm spraying all the cornfields that we planted this week. Spraying them with Roundup to kill off the regrowth of the triticale as well as some weeds that are growing. And then we run a 1.5 pints of atrazine, 1.5 pints of metolachlor, and 3 ounces of mesotrione. I really try not to spray more herbicide than we need to. You could spray more atrazine than that. I don't like spraying it, but it also is extremely effective at keeping the weeds from growing, keeping them from germinating. You'd think you'd spray these chemicals and, you know, it'd like sterilize your soil. So I was going around with the shovel the other day checking all these fields just for moisture to see how wet it was to plant. And every shovelful of dirt I'm finding a bunch of earthworms. I mean, there's a lot of life in the soil. I like earthworms as a gauge for your soil health. There's a lot of smaller microbes that you can't see, but if you have a lot of earthworms, that's usually a good sign that there's a lot of life in your soil, healthy soil. I really like what we do with the winter forage in the fall. As soon as we get corn off, we're putting that triticale in the ground. That's really combating the weeds, competing with the weeds, so we don't have to use a lot of herbicide. Keeps everything under control in the fall, over the winter, into the early spring. I'm someone that doesn't like to mess around with chemicals. I'm always extra careful handling them and wearing gloves and stuff when I'm loading. As soon as I'm done, clothes are washed, getting a shower, not going and picking up my kids or something like that. If you want to go the organic route, I don't have any problem with that. It's just there's challenges to it, and you know, there's also, I think there's some environmental disadvantages too. Like, you can't really no-till farm with organic cropping. You have to be able to till the ground. You have to mold board plow it, completely flip the soil over. So if you need to do a lot of tillage, you're going to be exposing the soil to more erosion, runoff during rains and blowing away in the wind and stuff, which is not good for the environment. And then also, if you're having to do a lot of mechanical tillage to get rid of weeds, you're driving a lot more equipment through the field, burning a lot more diesel per acre. So I'm not saying there's not solutions to these things, they can't be managed, but it's not necessarily better for the environment to be organic, in my opinion. But I don't know, could be wrong. All I know is I do not like weeds. They are a complete pain.